Please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the reminder bell.
I am here today to talk about the DNA test results in JonBenét Ramsey's murder. Do the DNA test results reveal JonBenet's killer? You decide. Here we are looking at a report from the Colorado Bureau of Investigations. It's a laboratory report, and the section says it's regarding DNA testing. The agency, Boulder PD, the offense, homicide, willful kill family, is investigated by Detective Thomas Truillo. The suspects are Patsy Ramsey and John Ramsey, the victim JonBenet. The date was 12/30/1996. To my knowledge, Boulder investigators never publicly named John and Patsy Ramsey as official suspects. Nevertheless, they did say they remained under an umbrella of suspicion, at least Patsy. When looking at the CBI report submitted December 30th, 1996, we can see the following offense: homicide, willful kill, family, investigated by Detective Thomas Truillo. The suspects are listed as John and Patsy Ramsey, and the victim is JonBenet. The date completed is January 15, 1997. They tested bloodstains from JonBenet's shirt and from her underwear, and they took DNA from the following people: John Andrew Ramsey, that's JonBenet's brother; Melinda Ramsey, that's JonBenet's sister; John B. Ramsey, that's JonBenet's father; Patricia Ramsey, that's JonBenet's mother; Burke Ramsey, that's JonBenet's brother; John Fernie is a family friend; Priscilla White is a family friend; Jeff Ramsey, I cannot remember who that is for anything, but they tested him. They tested Mervyn Pugh. He was the sometimes handyman for the Ramsey family, and also Linda Hoffman Pugh's husband. Linda Hoffman Pugh, they also tested her. She's the Ramsey's housekeeper and wife of Mervyn Pugh. Now we can look at this breakdown of people that were excluded from matching the DNA found under JonBenet's fingernails and underwear. John Ramsey excluded. Melinda Ramsey excluded. John Ramsey, the father, excluded. Patricia Ramsey excluded. Burke Ramsey excluded. John Fernie excluded. Priscilla White excluded. Jeff Ramsey excluded. Mervyn Pugh excluded. Linda Hoffman Pugh, no. Here is the full report here. You have to blow it up a little bit probably on your screen to see it well. They say that they tested the blood stains from JonBenet's shirt, the blood stains from her panties, the blood stain standard. They took DNA from JonBenet. They took a swab with saliva. They tested her right and left hand fingernails. They took samples from the tape. They had blood stains on the white blanket they tested, blood stains on JonBenet's nightgown, and semen stains from a black blanket. There list all the people: John Andrew Ramsey, Melinda Ramsey, John B. Ramsey, Patricia Ramsey, Burke Ramsey, John Fernie, Priscilla White, Jeff Ramsey, Mervyn Pugh, and Linda Hoffman Pugh. That's on the left side of the paper there. And in the paragraph here on the right, that's I've enlarged a little bit, it says the DNA profiles developed from Exhibits 7, 14L, and 14M reveal a mixture of which the major component matched JonBenet. If the minor components from Exhibits 7, 14L, and 14M are contributed by a single individual, then John Andrew Ramsey, Melinda Ramsey, John B. Ramsey, Patricia Ramsey, Burke Ramsey, Jeff Ramsey, John Fernie, Priscilla White, and Mervyn Pugh would be excluded as a source of the DNA analyzed on those exhibits. If we go over to the left again, we'll see number 7 was blood stains from the panties. Number 14 was right and left hand fingernails from JonBenet. And number 14, L and M are right and left hand fingernails from JonBenet. So all those people are excluded except for Linda Hoffman Pugh. The next paragraph says DNA profiles could not be developed from the sperm fractions from Exhibits 23A or 23B. 23A and B, that is semen stains on a black blanket. So maybe they took that off their bed and they'd had sex before or something. That's just a blanket that was in the basement there. And it says the DNA profiles from the epilithio fractions from Exhibit 23A and B were consistent with John B. Ramsey or a mixture of John B. and Patricia Ramsey. So that was on that blanket. It's up for you to make your own decision on that. It shows you the people that were excluded from matching the DNA found under JonBenet's fingernails and underwear. So
Please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the reminder bell.